I want to say now that the decision to remove VAT has been taken, it would be amiss of me not to wish South Africans a happy Freedom Day. Let me thank the parties that are represented here. Speak to South Africans. The day of the budget vote, the question that was put before the House was not whether you want VAT or you don't want VAT. Whilst VAT is an important component of the budget, the question that was put before South Africans is, do you want a fiscal framework that, whilst it may include VAT and it is going to be adjusted, you want a fiscal framework that will focus on education, that will focus on safety, that will ensure that we have a growing economy. We faced a tough decision as Build One South Africa. We had to stand up before the people of South Africa and say, to reject one component and ignore what is a basket of services that are put in the budget to shield poor South Africans. Shielding poor South Africans isn't just a question of zero rating items. Shielding poor South Africans is about making sure that classrooms in quintile 1, 2, and 3 have teachers in them so that you don't have full classrooms of over 70, but you provide in the budget so that there are more teachers. It's about making sure that hospitals have got nurses and doctors. It's about making sure that those who travel from distant communities to places of work have got a public transport system that can work for them. These are the questions that, if you are genuine about building a South Africa we want, and you want to be responsible, you have to stand up and say, how do we work towards these? And how do we achieve those? I promised on the day when we voted that as Build One South Africa, we'll do everything we can to make sure that the 0.5% does not go ahead. And I want to affirm that that began an extensive process. It began a process at which, through the African National Congress, we're able to engage and share some of these thoughts and these questions. We're able to speak to National Treasury and put proposals about how we can raise revenue and make sure that ultimately, when we go to the second part of the budget, which is part of the Appropriations Committee, a committee I chair, that when we look at the Division of Revenue Bill and the Appropriations Bill, we would be able to amend using the Money Bills and Related Matters Act to alleviate wasteful expenditure, do the appropriate reviews, and ensure that we never get around to the increase of 0.5%. Fellow South Africans, I think it's important to acknowledge the extensive amount of work that has taken in the last number of weeks, and in the place where it can only take place, which is to stay in the room of Parliament. And I want to say, I want to be grateful and thankful to the parties that are here for the leadership exercise, the patience, and the willingness to hear and affirm the work that Treasury now needs to do. But what is clear in common cause is that today, whilst be a victory and a victory for the people of South Africa, is only but a start. The work must continue. The Minister of Finance correctly states that multiple bills now have to be tabled before Parliament. And as the statement read out earlier on today affirms, that Parliament now needs to begin the work not only of engaging GTAC as far as spending reviews are concerned, but we have to find reforms that achieve growth. The reason you end up needing VAT is inherently because we've grown at 1% for the last 10 years. So now the job is, let us ensure that we have a resilient economy that can grow so that our social spend can be catered for in the budget going forward. And I, along with the finance cluster, which is the Portfolio Committee on Finance, the Portfolio Committee on Public Accounts, and our Portfolio Committee on Appropriations, commit ourselves afresh to putting in all the hard work that is necessary to ensure that by the legislated time frame, a budget is put before South Africans, passed legally, and can ensure that it achieves the very things that we seek to achieve. May I affirm that ultimately it will require more work on the part of Treasury, and we have to engage it. And lastly, as Parliament then meets to consider this, we have to work with the speed and the urgency, cognizant of the fact that we hear the people of South Africa. May I address the final question, which is to the people of this country? Many people have been, as would, placing on social media various things about how their respective companies have sent them letters telling them that VAT is going up. And that's a legitimate process. But I want to say to the people of this country, we're living in a new reality and a new terrain. This is a space that, as coalition and as the future of this country, we're going to have to learn through. I want to ask for your patience. As difficult as that is, I need to ask you for that. Because at the end of the day, we are going to have to work together as we learn the new terrain, but achieve what we collectively want, with leaders who are willing to stay in the room, engage, listen to you through public consultation processes, and be able to ultimately, you're not going to get everything that we want, but we've got to work together to reform so that we can grow and ensure that South Africans are included. So I do beg your patience, and I do want to reaffirm, I'm sure I'm speaking for everyone that is here, that it was never born out of malice to try and confuse as others have gone to different paths. It is born out of genuinely trying to find the best solutions for the people of this country. And when we entered these negotiations, we did so with the ambition of trust and the bona fides of each of the political parties. If you can't get those two conditions on the table, then you will negotiate backhanded, you'll end up doing things that do not serve the people. But if you sit down and are earnest and say, let us go through the process in this new reality where multiple parties have to find themselves in the room, I believe we've learned some important lessons now. We will learn more lessons in the medium-term budget policy statement, and we will ensure that come February next year, the delays and all of those issues will be taken out as we look at even how the budget making process takes place to ensure that we achieve the ambitions of the people. For us as BOSA, we had to put up our hands and say, let's fight for education, let's fight for safety, let's fight for an economy that grows, and that's contained in our budget. And let's do the work that has been tasked to us in the Appropriations Committee to ensure that all the spending reviews, all the work that we need to do about an efficient government is done. And that remains still our commitment, and we want to invite you along with all the political parties to say, as we focus on the future, this is a new terrain, but I think together we'll end up on the other side better, as we are today, as the people of this country, to say, fine, now we have a budget that will go ahead. It doesn't include VAT, but here are the adjustments we are going to make. And in the next year, it will continue to get better as we learn to walk this new road. So in conclusion, I wish you all a pleasant, happy Freedom Day. Engosi.